Wheelchair tennis player Rob Shaw took on the field at the U.S. Open. We're going to serve up a conversation as he reflects on how his latest Grand Slam appearance went. You won't want to miss it. Let's get started.
Welcome to Parasport Nation with Alex Smythe and Nathan Clement.
Welcome into Parasport Nation. I'm your host, Alex Smythe, and it is my privilege to welcome back co-host Nathan Clement to the show. Nathan, it's been too long. How are you doing, sir?
I am doing fantastic, Alex. I love the tennis pun to intro and start off the show. So it's great to be back. It's great to be back from vacation, and I cannot wait to have everyone listen to that conversation we had with Rob Shaw.
Well, Nathan, it sounded like you were almost going to tee me up for another easy shot for a pun, but I'm going to pass on that opportunity. I'm just going to leave that as is. But you've been gone for a few weeks. How was the vacation? You were in South America. Give us some of the deets, the juiciness, whether it's the food, the people, the places. Spill the beans.
I got to go to Colombia for 3 weeks on a kind of solo backpacking trip. So all I had was my bag, and I was really able to see a lot of the country. So I started off in the main capital, Bogota, went to kind of the life of the country, the big city, Medellin, and that was amazing. I got to play soccer or football with the locals, and that was tough, but a real great challenge. I also had my first swim practice in 7 years, and let me just say that swimming career is not being reborn anytime soon. That thing is dead in the water. But the food was amazing. The culture, the warmth, the vibrance that Colombia offers was really fantastic. And I'm just so thankful I have had that time to get that little reset before I get fully back into training and lock in for what's going to be a tough and long year dealing with the classification and also going for World Championship number 4.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, it's great to have you back. It's great that you're back and ready to work. You've already been hard at work in the background because I noticed you were also doing some Paralympic media training. Share a bit of info, like what was that like? Like what does that entail?
So this was through the Canadian Sport Institute Pacific and Game Plan Canada. They had a kind of media training day for a lot of the Olympic and Paralympic hopefuls. So we actually did have a couple Winter Olympians and a Summer Paralympian. Not going to disclose names or anything like that, but it was kind of like a training opportunity for them. So we had a major Canadian broadcaster, Vancouver broadcaster, come in, kind of give like different interview questions to a bunch of athletes. Some softballs, some hardballs. You know a thing or two about throwing the hardballs. So just like really trying to throw the athletes off in a way and just really making sure that they're staying composed in media, but they're also getting comfortable in front of the camera too. So like my kind of role there was more in the background, helping with the editor, with the camera operator, but as well as even helping with some kind of tips and tricks and just really making sure every single athlete's out there is comfortable, they feel good in front of the camera when their moment comes to shine, hopefully on the big stage in Milano Cortina or in LA in 2028.
Okay, so you weren't the one subjected to all the hardball or softball questions. So, because I was going to say, I feel you're pretty comfortable. I mean, we've been doing this podcast for what, like 80, 90 episodes now. You know, you're getting your water legs and underneath you for being in front of the camera. So I would have been surprised if you could have been caught off guard. But regardless, it's so nice having you back. We missed you. We had some great fill-in co-host guests and some great conversations. So you'll definitely have to go back and listen to them if you haven't already been following along with every moment of PSN during your solo travels. But what a way to kick off your return to the show, because we have Rob Shaw joining us. He is fresh off his appearance at the U.S. Open. He was competing in his most recent Grand Slam where he fell in the quarterfinal. Let's have a conversation with Rob as he reflects on his competition and how he's been doing in his career in the last little while. Here's our conversation with Rob Shaw. Rob, thanks so much for joining us once again. You're fresh off the U.S. Open competition. As you kind of look back at that competition, how are you feeling when you reflect on it?
Yeah, thanks again for having me, Alex and Nathan. It was a emotional tournament, I would say. You know, for me, all these big tournaments give you an opportunity to put yourself against the best. And usually I get that opportunity in the first or second round, and then I run into some of these much stronger players, and then it's a bit of a rude awakening. So I rode that high of my first win at the U.S. Open the first day, and then I rode the low of getting dominated the next day in singles. But that's sport, right? You don't win them all.
Thank you for joining us, Rob. Throughout your career, especially at the majors, you're consistently making the quarterfinals, semifinals, and even having appearances in the finals. How do you translate that consistency to eventually getting that Grand Slam title?
Yeah, I'm honestly not sure how I'm ever going to attain that goal. It's something that I think I've had a really great career because I'm consistent. I think most opponents, when they play me, they know what's going to come. They know what quality I'm going to be able to put on court, but I haven't been able to really activate that next level like some of these top players. I struggle to kind of scratch that extra 5% out of my game. So it's something that we need to work on. Maybe it's being, more courageous on court. Maybe it's going for bigger shots and bigger moments. But thus far, it's a goal that seems unachievable, but I'm okay with what I've done so far.
Well, let's walk through this tournament, because in the first round, it was a hard-fought 3-set match, and you really clawed out the victory there. You mentioned in the quarterfinal, it was kind of a devastating loss. But take us through that first match and that 3-set, because it was tight there throughout that match. So what were you feeling going through that as it went from the first set to the third?
Yeah, the first match was what I call like old school quad tennis, where both guys are pretty equally matched with their function. We both like to keep the points short because of our movement challenges. But when you've never played an opponent, you don't really know their tendencies. You don't know what they like to do and not like to do. You don't know their movement patterns. So it's a lot of cat and mouse. And I think that was reflected in the score. There was a lot of back and forth, obviously a 3-setter. No set was a blowout, right? First set was 7-5, then 3-6, and then obviously a breaker in the third. So I think at the end of the day, I just played a little bit more consistent than him and made the right shots in the right moments. But he's a tricky player. He's kind of newish to our division, newish to the sport, been playing for maybe 5 or 7 years, and his ceiling is quite high, I think. So I was happy to get that win against him on home soil for him. Against the home crowd, it felt pretty good. But it was definitely a tricky one.
Going to the doubles side, and throughout your career, you've been partnered with Heath Davidson of Australia in multiple tournaments. What is that relationship like, and what's it like pairing your skills off with Heath from tournament to tournament?
Yeah, we've been playing for about 3 years together now, and before that we weren't really mates on tour. I was pretty quiet, kept to myself. He had his friend group, and then all of a sudden we just kind of clicked one tournament and been kind of best buddies on tour ever since. So I think when you look at the best doubles teams in the world, they tend to get along quite well on and off the court, right? They know how to stimulate each other. They know how to get each other going. And at the same time, there's a lot of respect. So when you make mistakes, when you're having a bad day, you don't feel that pressure because you know you're playing with a buddy who he's not getting down on you. So we've had a lot of success together. Obviously, it didn't go our way this time around. We hadn't played together in a couple months, and quite honestly, the team we played just played really well. I thought we played reasonably well considering we hadn't played together in a little bit, but end of the day, they just were a bit more consistent than we were. Kind of wore me down physically. I wasn't in the greatest shape going into that tournament with some health issues, so always fun playing with him. But yeah, I think we would have liked to have gone at least one stage farther than we did.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's understandable too. And every single tournament's going to offer up their different challenges or unique kind of hurdles that you have to face. Like when it comes to the U.S. Open specifically, like what were things that you were kind of focused on in terms of your prep going into this competition?
Yeah, whenever you're playing the Grand Slams, I think the biggest difference, for me at least, is the court size. So obviously within the lines, the court's always the same, but around the court, the area is very different tournament to tournament. And so those big tournaments, you have a really big court to operate on. So for a player like me who doesn't move as well, it's harder for me kind of to generate pace through the court because players have so much room at the back to kind of hang out and let the ball bounce twice. So that's always a difficult prep. You're always trying to find courts in your local area that are bigger at the back, that force you to move a bit more than you're used to. So that's kind of I think the biggest difference going from the tour events to the slam events. And then obviously the scale of things, right? You have people in the stands. Sometimes you don't have that at the other tournaments. You have officials walking you out on court. You have the ball kids. You have the line umpires. So there is a lot less for you to do, which then kind of makes it feel like you have more pressure on yourself to perform because there's no real excuse. You're not tired of getting the balls. You're not getting a bad line call. It's all on you on your racket, right? So.
You mentioned the physical toll, and wheelchair tennis, it's a long season. How do you take care of your body throughout the year with different competitions, different travel? Because a lot of your matches, a lot of your competitions are all around the world.
Yeah, I mean, truthfully, the last 2 years I haven't done a good job of it. Mainly because, like you said, Nathan, like it's year long for us. Our tournament schedule is about 11 months long. Most players are playing anywhere from 18 to 25 tournaments a year, 14 or 15 countries. So you're constantly traveling. In a given year, I'm kind of home no more than 10 days at a time, and I'm on tour for 21, back for 10, on for 21. So when you get injured, you don't really feel like you have the opportunity to rest. There's always another tournament. If you're not playing it, someone's catching you in the rankings. If you're not keeping your ranking high, you're losing funding, you're losing Grand Slam opportunities. So it's a bit of a negative cycle when you do get injured. But I think a lot of us, we have that luxury of having coaches with us on tour. So that helps with the training capacity. You do your best in the hotel rooms, in the hotel gyms to stay fit, to do all your stretching that you need to do. But yeah, at the end of the day, I think when you look on tour, most players just do a good job of playing through injuries. A lot of people are injured out here, and they just kind of mentally block that out and just grind until December. And then December, you have that 1 month off, and that's where you try to recoup as best you can and get ready for January.
You had talked about how like the difference when you're going into a competition on this scale as a Grand Slam, and it came out recently that the WTA, ATP, they're partnering to bring wheelchair tennis to more of these major events. Like, how do you feel about that and the opportunity to have a more integrated tennis competition that has the able-bodied side and the wheelchair side?
Yeah, I think it's a bit of a double-edged sword. I think when it's done correctly, it can be really great to promote the sport, but it only works if all players across all divisions get equal access, and that's kind of where we're struggling right now. We're getting a lot of appetite from the ATP to bring the men's division into their tournaments, not so much the quad division, and then the WTA has been a little bit more reluctant to bring the women's into their side of things. So it's working out super well for the men's right now, and I guess you do have to start somewhere at the end of the day. But hopefully, as the more and more events become integrated, there becomes more opportunity for the women in the quad to get that equal access, because right now it is sort of dominated opportunities by the men's, but like I said, you kind of have to start somewhere, right?
You're also serving on the ITF's player council as well at the moment, so what kind of progress do you hope to see there from the ATP and WTA to get that access, get more opportunities, and really grow that?
Yeah, so I sat on the council for 2 years. I actually left this year, but I'm still very close to the conversations that take place. And I think at the end of the day, right, we're just looking for opportunities like other parasports, right? We're just looking for that opportunity to showcase what we do, showcase the product that we have. We understand that we're never going to be a comparable to the stand-up sport. We're a different sport entirely with the rules of two balances and the style of play that we have. But regardless of that, we do find that when we do get in front of an audience, the audience is quite engaging. So it's just a matter of getting in front of more eyes, and then from there you can engage with people. You can try to sell your store. You can try to get more funding, more sponsorship. But that doesn't come unless you get those eyes on the sport. So I think we're just trying to have more open dialogue, keep those conversation channels flowing as much as possible, and really seizing any opportunity that we have, whether it's an exhibition like we did at the MBO this year in Toronto, or a proper integrated event like they do in Munich every year, right? Both are great. It's just whatever we can get our hands on, we'll take.
Well, and as you say too, that in hope leads to more funding, more opportunity, more supports when you are spending so much time on the road every single month. As you say, you only have that 1 month in December to really kind of recover, unwind, and kind of have that time to yourself. Like, looking back on for yourself, like when you were balancing your pursuing of the PhD and your sporting career, did that help you kind of develop ways to cope and deal with the stress of being on the road, or the kind of limited time off that you have when you're in the midst of a competition cycle, or are you still learning and finding new ways to kind of better manage the time that you do have?
Yeah, for me that was something I needed to do, right? I never really saw myself as a full-time athlete, so for me it was really nice. I always say to like wear two hats. I very much had two different personas. There was Rob Shaw, the tennis player, then Rob Shaw, the graduate student. And so I always had something else on the go. If I had a bad loss, it didn't really weigh on me because I had meetings an hour after the match anyways, right? If I had big wins, same thing. I didn't get super high because I had work to do anyways in the evenings. I wasn't out celebrating. I was out doing PhD work. So I really enjoyed that. I think it really extended my career. It's not for everyone. It was really busy times when you're at the courts from 8 in the morning until 5 or 6 at night, and then you're working from 6 until 11 every day. But at the same time, like, it did give you that outlet and did give you that opportunity to like really put the tennis aside when it wasn't going well and pour yourself into something new. And when the PhD was finished, I tried doing full-time tennis without anything going on, and I only lasted maybe 3 or 4 months before I said, this isn't for me. I don't like having all this free time. I need to do something with my brain. So I started working for Spinal Cord Injury BC right away, and been doing that now for the last 2.5, 3 years. And same situation. It's just an opportunity for me to do something else and kind of remove myself from the athlete role. And for me, that was, like I said, really important for extending my career. And I think it helped contribute to a lot of the results that I had.
Balancing the school and the training competition is such a admirable thing, as it's full-time commitments in there, and even the work you're doing now. Is there anything that you can look at now that you take the most pride in from your time as an athlete, a grad student, or really just throughout your sporting career?
Yeah, I mean, I like that neither of my two identities suffered during that 4.5, 5-year period. Like, I didn't slough off on the PhD and just do a half-assed job, and I didn't just throw in any matches in tennis either. Like, I did a really good job of balancing both. I felt like my quality of play and my quality of work was really, really high. And that doesn't come by yourself. You have tons of support to do that, right? From your coaches to your supervisors to your colleagues, like allowing you that freedom to work in a hotel room and just giving you the opportunity and the support to like get your work done across the world. So like, I think it for me, going forward in my careers, both as an athlete and as a person in the working force, like, it taught me a lot of really important lessons about trusting people, about relinquishing control, and understanding that different people work in different situations, and what works for you might not work for someone else, but if they're getting the work done, then just trust that process. So yeah, it was like I said, really busy 5 years, but really enjoyable at the same time.
No, that's fantastic. And Rob, you know us, we like to start to wrap up the conversation on a bit of the fun, light note. So I have a question. I know Nathan will have one for you as well. I want to know, like, throughout your career, you've had a chance to play in so many great venues. Is there still a dream venue that you wish to be able to play a match in?
Oh, I mean, I've been spoiled, right? I've played in all my childhood arenas. I haven't played on the big courts yet, but I've practiced on all the big courts. So I suppose if there was one court that would be fun to play on, they did a show court way back in the maybe mid 2000s in Qatar, where they had Federer versus Nadal on a half grass, half clay court atop this giant tower. Like, if that court still exists, that would be super cool to get up there. That was always like a big, like, oh my gosh, there's a court up there. That's so cool moment as a kid. So if that's available and people in Qatar are listening, reach out. I'm happy to come over and do a little exo up top there for you.
We got to make that happen. And just throughout your career being a para athlete, you get to travel to so many amazing locations. But do you have a favorite food destination that you've been to that speaks to you personally?
Yeah, so I love Japanese food, and every year we get the opportunity to play in a little town called Izuka, and there's a gentleman there who has a ramen restaurant, tiny little hole in the wall, only sits 4 or 5 people at a time, and that to me is like that's the best bowl of ramen I'll ever have. It's the best fried rice I've ever had. Best strawberries I've ever had in the world are there. So I mark that one in my calendar every April. I don't miss the Japan Open. That's my by far favorite food tournament.
You got me drooling, Rob. So I think before I make a mess of myself on air, we'll wrap things up there. Thank you so much for coming on, and best of luck on the next competitions.
Yeah, appreciate it. Thanks you both for having me.
And that was our conversation with Rob Shaw, fresh off his appearance at the U.S. Open. Nathan, lots to draw from that conversation. I think the interesting thing that stood out to me, apart from the direct competition and how Rob kind of stays prepared and mentally focused on that grueling travel schedule, is the fact that, you know, when he asked him about that partnership, it's something that is not surprising, but it's still the challenges that are there. And we see this time and time again where it's like, okay, yes, this is great for the first wave of athletes who are going to be getting more exposure at these major competitions with the men's side, as he mentioned, or, you know, the women's side, but it's like the quad division, the women's division. They're not getting the same level of exposure as the men's wheelchair division. So it's like, it's a nice start. Let's see it translate to everyone getting more opportunity, not just one classification, one division of para tennis.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing. And you can look at so many different sports that have that area where certain classes are getting that step forward, but other classes and other categories are kind of not being left behind, but they're definitely not being looked at the same way as other categories. And what Rob was saying about continuing to work, continuing to really build so every category is on that equal kind of spacing is a huge step. But just this continual growth, I think, is going to be really amazing. But one of my big takeaways is just that relationship that he built with Heath throughout his career, but also how it's a game of chess at the end of the day where you're playing against these players so often and so many times. When a new player comes in, it's a tricky game, just trying to figure out where to go and how to play that match. But was there any big takeaways for you, Alex?
Well, I really appreciate what he said about the court size, because, yeah, obviously within the lines, the courts are always the same. But it's like when you get into those bigger venues, there is more space beyond the lines. And in tennis, that's fair game. And he talked about how, like, you know, for him and his ability, he is limited in his movement, his mobility, especially side to side on that court. But there's an opportunity for other players who maybe have more mobility to be able to use that to their advantage. So it gives that competitive edge. So I found that very interesting. It's the little nuances when it comes to that side of things with tennis. One thing I want to bring up to you, Nathan, because you're a West Coast guy. I'm an East Coast guy. You know, we're living three hours apart. I'm living in the future. You're living in the past. This is just the nature of it. Get used to it. But we love our sports. I'm curious because we were having this conversation off air. We posed this question. None of us really had the strongest detailed answer for it, but let's do it on air now. What is the best time zone to watch live sports in? Let's say North American sports, the U.S. Open. Let's say Rob Shaw's on prime time. We're going to be tuning in to watch them. For me, I love the Eastern time zone because that's when everything is, the TV schedule is designed for the Eastern time zone. You know, it's prime time scheduling. Once the matches are over, it's the evening. Everyone's preparing for bed, things like that. Starts later in the day. I can get stuff done before then. I'm going to assume you're going to disagree with me on that.
Oh, it's a hard disagree on that. The East, and I'm going to save my kind of full reasoning for a little bit, but I'm going to give why the Pacific is best right off the bat is you get up. I'm an early riser, so I get up around like 7:30 on a Sunday, kind of do the little things I have to do, and then I sit down on the couch for 7 hours of red zone football every single Sunday. I wish it was commercial free, but you're able to enjoy your day of watching sports from 10 a.m. You have the first slate of NFL games, 1 p.m. You have that second slate come in there, and then you know what's great is after Sunday night football, you have the evening to relax. So the games usually end around 8 o'clock, 8:30, and then you're able to relax, especially when it's sun out. When it's sunny out a little later in the day, it's a lot better that way, because even if it's a stinker of a game on a Sunday night, you can go out, do different things, really check out. But the one reason, and it's across like all of the sports, basketball, baseball, and especially hockey, is puck drop, say for the Sens, as you're a big Sens guy, is 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific. But for the night game, the Canucks play at 7 p.m. They start at 10 p.m. for you, so you miss a whole slate of action. You miss a whole night of NBA games. You miss a whole night of Canucks games. Like when I lived in Ottawa, I was watching the Canucks play till 1 a.m. in the morning. That is not good. That is not great. So I have to go Pacific just because it gives you that time to really experience the day, see the day, and then even have time in the evening to relax and do whatever you want.
That's just because you're an early riser, as you say. I mean, I am not getting up at 6 a.m. on a Sunday to go and be productive. I like being productive in the morning. I wake up at 10 a.m. I can go get everything I want to get done. 1 p.m. football starts. Okay, I still got 3 hours to do it. I don't have to wake up early to be productive and then sit down at 10 a.m. So I see your point on the late night games on the West Coast. I appreciate that. But anytime there is actually a major event, they shift the time zone to the east. So I really don't miss all that much. I'm still getting my fill of baseball, hockey, basketball, soccer, whatever. So for that reason, I'm going to firmly stay with the East Coast. You're staying with the Pacific Coast. So we'll leave things there. And we're going to head to Las Vegas right now because Luca DeMontis with Canadian Blind Hockey is in Vegas. And I swear he's there for business purposes. He's not there to party. He's there representing Canadian Blind Hockey. Let's find out why he's there. Luca, why are you in Las Vegas right now? Luca, what the heck are you doing in Las Vegas right now?
Well, I am actually here with Canadian Blind Hockey, and we are here attending the NHL Player Media Tour. It has been an incredible experience already.
You and Mark are down there promoting, as you said, blind hockey, but how's the experience been so far? And is there any objectives of being at an event like this?
You know what? The experience has been incredible. The hospitality from the NHL is just always top notch. It's first tier, right? And it's so incredible to see the inclusion of the parasport of blind hockey being in the room with these incredible athletes and even better people. Just having some of the conversations we've been having with some of these NHL superstars, introducing them to the parasport of blind hockey if they never knew about it, is really moving the puck forward, as you could say, for our parasport, but also just for the inclusion and the partnership with the NHL.
And so what is that initial reaction when you start to talk to some of the players or the media and kind of highlight blind hockey? Like, what are they saying? How are they reacting?
You know what? I'll be honest. The reaction has been different. For some players, when we ask them, have you heard about blind hockey? They say, yeah, it pops up on my Instagram or my TikTok, right? And we follow you. And for a couple others, it's been like, no, I haven't, but tell me more. So the response has been different, but it's just been so incredible just to hear the response from some players. When you get a player like Sidney Crosby and you ask him, have you ever heard of blind hockey? And he tells you yes. You know, as an organization, but also as a community, we're doing something right. We're on the right path. Biggest players in the game are knowing the sport and hearing of the sport. It's really important for us as growth, right?
Representatives of blind hockey are going to be back in Vegas in December for the Carnegie Cup. What does it mean to have the Carnegie Cup there in Vegas?
Yeah, I feel like we've been in Las Vegas a lot the last year between the NHL awards and now the media tour. And then, yeah, we're coming back in December for the BHL. 2025 Carnegie Cup. So the best blind hockey players in the world have filled out their application, and now they're standing tight, waiting to see if they've been selected to play in it. And it's going to be, I feel like I'm saying this all the time now, but it's going to be the best blind hockey we've seen on ice, right? To see the talents from across not only Canada and US, but some players from around the world that have applied for it. I think it's very important. A huge shout out to the Las Vegas Golden Knights for just being partners on this event, taking a chance on a group that is very excited to play the sport. It's the first time blind hockey will ever be played in Las Vegas. So it's very monumental. The Blind Hockey League, board, the players, their initiative is something that I think is going to push this sport forward, but it's also going to show players not only in the NHL, but not only youth minor hockey players, that this sport is very important. It's very important for these individuals, their lives. It gives them that opportunity to play the game they love, right? So I think that's super important for our community to know that they belong, right? And seeing that representation of being on the ice, the same ice as some of the best players the NHL has to offer, is very important, right? So I'm super excited. And my role with this event is going to be an event that's going to help propel us to partnering with other NHL organizations, right? So huge kudos to the Vegas Golden Knights for taking a chance and inviting us, and literally inviting us with open arms. It's just been so nice just to meet some of these players, but also people from the organization, and they really, really care. And I think for us, that's the big thing. When you're able to partner with an organization that cares and wants to open their doors and let you feel like you belong, that's incredible.
That's fantastic. And Luca, last question for you. Like you talked about how some of the players, they knew already about blind hockey. They've seen it on socials. Like, what does it mean to you to know that the work that you and the team have been doing for years now is starting to pay dividends? You're breaking through. You're getting that recognition, not only from fans, but some of the best players in the sport are starting to see and witness blind hockey for themselves.
Yeah, it's rewarding for sure. I'd be lying if I didn't say that. It's incredible to see that and to hear that feedback from these players that they know about blind hockey. But a huge testament to that is to like social media, right? We got to give a little bit of credit to social media here. They've really helped us grow our brand and the organization of Canadian Blind Hockey, but more importantly, the parasport of blind hockey across the platform, right? So if it's something so simple as a photo that we're posting and we're all texting to make sure our community also knows what's in that photo, or if it's a video or a collaboration post, it's important and it's needed, right? So huge stick tap to the NHL for not only just inviting us out here, but helping us amplify our voice, right? And I think it's so important. We've been able to meet with many different individuals from the NHL head office here this weekend, and also with the NHLPA, the Goals and Dreams Foundation, that was so nice in giving us gear for our players last season, our youth players. And the season's around the corner, and I feel like going through this media tour has not only helped us, but it's prepared us, and it's given me a little bit more excitement for this coming season, right? The blind hockey puck is going to drop on our season at our Western Regional Blind Hockey Tournament in Vancouver, I believe it's October 19th to 21st. There's going to be a huge response from our players in our community. With Canadian Blind Hockey, we're launching a couple new programs. So we'll give that a little sneak peek for that for a city like Victoria and Edmonton. All right. So the growth is there. The community's growing, and just being here at the Player Media Tour is just giving us that reassurance that we're on the right path. Let's continue to do what we're doing, because we're really here because we're doing it for those children and youth blind hockey players, not only in Canada, but from around the world, so they could have the opportunity to lace up their skates and play the game that we all love.
Luca, this is great. Thank you so much for your time. I know you're extremely busy, so best of luck with the rest of your time down in Vegas.
Hey, no matter how busy we ever are, we will always make time for you guys. Thank you so much for even just the invite on this. I can't speak enough to that. You guys are great. Always love coming on. So yeah, thank you so much.
Well, that's all the time we got for today's episode. Thanks for watching and listening. We'll catch you next time.
Thanks for tuning in to Parasport Nation. Like and subscribe to the channel to follow us now.